Oh, there it is now.
Good evening.
Oh, wow.
Hello, listeners. You good? Greetings.
Greetings from the village. In the studio tonight, we are very fortunate to have Dr. Joanne Bryant. Doc, welcome to the village instead of your living room. And as you can see, Mr. Daly's not here, but he should be connecting in a few. So that's why it's so peaceful in the studio today. We have Andre and Sophia, and
Well, I guess who's in the living room?
who's in the living room? Must be.
He's not on.
He's not on yet.
He will.
Hello, my
Music.
villagers.
Hey, Roderick. We can't hear you.
What's that? Milk and juice. Milk and juice. What a combination. Milk and juice.
Say something.
What you want me to say?
What is
Oh,
that?
it's a damn thing.
This is my pina colada. That's my rum and cranberry.
Greetings, Osmo. Okay.
Hi, Simone. Pina colada. I'm
Welcome,
double fisting.
Simone.
All right, I'm double fisting it.
We are late due to the weather.
The weather in New York.
Weather in New York.
Yes.
I heard it was 65 degrees up there today.
Better
What's
late
going
than
on?
never, Simone.
It was
So,
something.
hey, what's going on? Can we get a little Hey, Mr. Daly, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing all right.
What's all right? All right is not a doing.
Rickford just invited me to something.
Rickford had something last week. He was invited.
Yeah, he had his birthday party last week.
Yeah, I didn't get no invite, Mr. Burke.
Well, you know. So yeah, he has an event next week. Caribbean American Global United invite to celebration ceremony to honor two individuals, Congresswoman Yvette Clarke and Congressman Hakeem Jeffries. Bethesda Healing Center next Friday at 6:30.
Beautiful,
So
beautiful.
I guess I'll send a flyer out to the groups if Andre wants to put it up. You can do that. So what's going on, guys? How you doing?
We're good. We're good. We're not enjoying the weather.
I'm gone again. So why are we so late today?
It's the
According
weather.
to Simone,
It's the weather.
it's too beautiful out. What I heard it was 65 degrees today in New York.
60, but it was wet.
Oh, it was raining.
Yes, it was. So the roads are slick. We had to take our time getting here. If that's okay with you, Simone and Mr. Daly.
That's
So,
okay.
you know,
I didn't. Andre, I didn't get
what
a
do
flyer.
y'all guys think? What do you guys think about this uh, derailment over there in Ohio? And a couple of weeks ago, last week or a couple of weeks ago, and a lot of the residents have been complaining about dead livestock, headaches, rashes breaking out, and the transportation secretary hasn't been here yet, and you know the media is really harping on this. You know, my thing is when we had that
I don't hear you.
when we had that water issue. Can you hear me now, Dr. Brian?
Mm-mm.
You know what's going on, man. What's going on today, bro? My mic ain't on. My mic ain't on.
It's always John's mic, man.
Go ahead.
Kiss my
No.
kiss off, Roger. So I'm just throwing that out to the villages. I'm throwing it out to my co-host. What do you think about that derailment with the chemicals, with the fire, and the impact it's having on the community? That's similar to what transpired in what state was that with the water, with the lead in the water?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Michigan,
Michigan.
Flint. Well, right down here in Florida, there was also another fire as well, John. Right, we're right next to a chemical factory down here as well. So when we talk about EPA, we have to look at things that people talk about on environmental, on the environmental piece. in America, right? So we talk about EPA a lot, and what's the expectation?
Mhm.
So do you really believe in, like, people are talking about, I mean, on the same subject, do you really believe that people believe in global warming?
Roger, I think it's global. You know, people do believe in global warming. There's evidence of it transpiring even today. Yes,
No,
yes, Andre.
y'all hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So, wait. So funny story, right? So
I can't hear you.
y'all hear me?
I'm hearing this in my ears. I hear you because you're here.
All right. So y'all know Greta Thunberg, right?
Yes.
Okay, and just explain this to me. She's all about the climate change, all of that stuff, really, right? I think she did it from she was 16. Now she's about 20, 21 or something like that. So I'm on Twitter and I see that she has published a book,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like climate something and all that. I found it interesting. You know, you push it a great, like super great deal, and then she said that the money that's coming from the sale of the book is not she's not making any she's not gonna make money from it, but it's going to go to the foundation and her non her not for profit foundation, which is called the Greta Thunberg Foundation. Is that
It went off.
it went off?
Did you hear him all the way, Roger? Okay.
Is she really not gonna get no money from that?
Well, what do you mean?
Now.
From it?
What happened? I missed the joke in the studio.
I missed the joke too. I don't know, Andre.
No, it's Joanne's just looking at me, so I'm asking, is she really not gonna get any money from it?
I guess I have no idea not whether or not she's going to get any money with it, but what we're talking about is something that seriously impacts humankind.
Right.
We're talking about these chemicals that are being unleashed into our communities, into our atmosphere, into our air, which has an impact upon our own health, but also has an impact upon global warming. All these toxins
John,
and chemicals being released. Yes.
when you bring that subject up, right, I'm thinking of like Chernobyl, right? I'm thinking of 9/11, right?
Right.
And the 21 and a half years almost later, with 9/11, you hear all of these lawsuits coming up. So I don't know whether or not she's going to make any money, Andre. I mean, I doubt that she's not going to make any money, right? But the question becomes how much money she's going to make. But the reality of the situation, though, is what are they? Years ago,
You're breaking up.
I'm breaking up.
Okay, you came back.
Right. So yeah, sometimes when I'm down here, the stupid Wi-Fi is not as effective as it should be.
So
I'm
where are
using-
you? Tell our
I'm in-
user, our listeners where you are.
I'm my son Grayson, right? My son Grayson is his team is ranked number 3 in the country, in the state of New York. So he is the starting first baseman, and as a good parent, I'm not on vacation.
Did I say anything?
Oh, definitely.
Why you?
Right?
You sound,
Well, you sound a little guilty there.
No, because I know what the conversation is going to say. Am I on vacation? No, I am not on vacation.
No one, but okay, fine. You're not on vacation.
No,
You're partaking in your son's athletic endeavors, but you're still on damn vacation.
All right. So anyway,
So Simone, let's get back to what Simone says. Simone.
So before we get to Simone, though, we just finished up the thought. Like what you're saying, John, is like really on point, right? Because people, the long-term effect of these chemical reactions, right? People overlook them. Like, okay, right now. So I like the whole concept, right? Rome wasn't built in a day. A journey to 1,000 miles begin with the first step. All of those things, right, are part of the conversation. Because at the end of the day, note that we don't know what the long-term effects of these things are.
But you know what? What you mentioned, the White House should have gone up there. You know, people are people no matter what. Even the governor of Ohio mentioned that, oh, he didn't know if there was chemicals that was deadly chemicals that was on the train. And if there was, there's something that, you know, he should have been notified or whatever. So now the after effect. Whoever live in that area are affected by what transpired.
You know what? Yeah, Doc, I totally agree with you, but I think it comes to the point now, all right,
What's next?
what's next? What's the
Mhm.
next steps?
Mhm.
Okay, fine. You didn't handle it the way we thought you should have handled it. So how can we put put the residents over there at ease, give them the support that is needed? So, and then finally, we find out exactly what is the environmental impact it will have on these people in the long term. Stop. That we always do this. We point at this, point at that. I'm listening to Fox News and they point no, the administration, whatever it is. Stop the pointing. Let's help the people. The bottom line, help the people. And it's similar. It's similar to the outcry that about that young girl who took her life because of bullying.
Mhm. Mhm.
And now you have the superintendent, who
Resign.
who has resigned. But the whole point was this was evident. They knew this existed. We wait until it gets to the head, till it reaches to the peak, and it explodes, and then we want to come in and provide some corrective actions.
Mhm.
Whatever happened to preventive measures? This bullying
Yeah.
is serious. It is serious. These kids are just mean
Mhm.
to one another.
John, I have this conversation all the time. And Dr. Bryant always get mad at me.
Here we go.
Because she thinks I'm too radical.
It depends
When
on
I'm
what you're gonna say.
children need to have serious consequences for behaviors and their parents to some extent, right? The parents should have to prove, right, that they did everything that they could
Mhm.
to stop the children from what they're doing. Second thing, John, I hate to agree. This is not you, Dr. Bryant. You don't say this. But John, I hate to have to agree with you this. The law needs to stop this baloney about the fact that you can't cut your children's ass.
Watch your mouth.
About time, brother. About time. Ain't
Right?
nothing wrong with corporal punishment.
Because at the end of the day,
On my child.
now, how do you bring that 14-year-old child back? How do you bring them back?
You know what's gonna happen? You know what's gonna bring him back?
They don't know
CEO
better.
on Rikers Island, or that CEO in upstate New York,
John,
or that
they
CEO.
don't know better. They're kids. They're just playing.
What I'm saying is, instead of the parents bringing him back, you're gonna have the CEO bring him back, or law enforcement bring him back. You know what?
John, you know why the law says you cannot beat your children?
Why?
Because they need the jail system to work. Period. Some corporal punishment would save some jail time. But if you're allowed to discipline your kids,
your jail time, especially kids,
right? If you're allowed to discipline your kids, then there's less need for all these jails. So I got to remember, jail and schools are the two most responsible units for economy in large cities and large states. Look at that, at opposite end of the pipeline. So My heart goes out to that family. I don't think the superintendent should have resigned.
Why not, brother? If he knew about it, there were complaints about it, he did nothing about it,
And he has a history of this.
and he has a history of this. Oh, he got to go. He got to go.
I think within the confines, right? Within the confines of what the law permitted. You can't remember, one thing is that, oh, you suspend the kids too much. You know that, Dr. Brian, because you're in schools, right? We have to lower the suspension rate of our schools. So you have to fudge data. So you can't just say, look at a behavior. I'm a safety AP, and I'm telling you, I'm sitting in meetings going, how is that not a fight?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's not a fight. That's what is it? It's not a fight. Their kids are just romping. While the other kid is dripping with blood, and you could tell in the meeting that it was serious. Right?
Mm.
I personally tell, in America, the kids can do no wrong. And I disagree. Kids they know that you don't allow them to do any wrong.
I don't know what you're saying in regards to in America that kids could do no wrong. That is not true. That is a total.
In terms of the law, Dr. Bryant, is what
No.
I'm saying.
If you commit a crime, you're going to, like Simone said, here it is. If you commit a crime of murder, they're going to penalize you as a murderer.
No, they're not.
They're not. Well, depends
They're
what
not.
age you are.
I don't know where you get that from. They're not. If you're 18 or 18 years or older,
16 years old, you're going to be, yes.
No, it depends on what they charge you at certain age. Like that 6-year-old who shot the teacher. What penalties do you think that 6-year-old is going to have? But he willfully knew that.
We didn't hear anything else about that case, about the parent, about nothing.
The teacher is suing the city.
Okay.
My son made me some fruit smoothie. I'm having a little bit of that. But the reality.
Wait, I want to stop you. There was another child who was 6 years old who actually brought a gun on a bus. I'm trying to remember what state. And the kids who were on the bus notified right away an adult, and they arrested that parent because the gun was on the dresser. It was not locked up. So for all the gun owners and all the gun people who decide, hey, I need to have a gun, and you have a young child and you don't safeguard it, you will end up in jail. Because thank God those kids were wise enough to go and notify someone right away, because the 6-year-old shouldn't have had a gun on them. And thank God he wasn't trying to play, hey, let's see what it could fire. But the after effect, if you're going to be responsible enough or so-called, you want a gun, you want to be grown enough to have a gun, and you have kids, you need to be grown enough to pay the consequence. And don't put other people's lives at risk for the stupidity.
Well said,
I disagree.
Oh, really? So leaving a gun on a dresser when you have a busy 6-year-old or a busy 8-year-old or a busy 10-year-old, that's real cool, right? So
Absolutely.
You deserve to be in jail.
Because now you have the infringement on the right to bear arms.
Yeah, but
brother, you can't brother. If we like to visualize it, we like to believe that a person who is bearing arms is responsible. A person who leaves their gun on the dresser, knowing they have young children in there, they are not responsible individuals, and therefore they should not be a gun owner. Your level and your judgment exceeds a certain level. Not a reasonable person. It's a reasonable person who has a gun permit, knowing that what can happen if the gun is readily accessible to anyone.
So I'm just messing with you, John. You got I had a situation like that in 2011, right? In 2011, my cousin came to visit me, and he's a law enforcement person, and he came to visit me, and he left his gun on the table downstairs. Right, it was in his holster, but he left it there because he was going in the shower, and I guess he didn't realize that the kid was coming downstairs.
He left the gun where?
Downstairs. Like, so my house has 3 floors, right? So the basement level was where the guest room is. My kids live upstairs on the top floor. So they came downstairs. He came downstairs, and my son picked up the gun. He's like, "Daddy!" I was like, "Whoa!" Trust me. So I know exactly what you're saying, John. And by the way, my cousin wasn't being irresponsible, right? He wasn't being irresponsible, but even without being irresponsible, I could see, where even without being irresponsible, it still could have caused some catastrophe that he still would have to pay for.
Well, here's the thing. He knows you have children. He knew you had children, right?
Okay, so I'm not going to listen to you because you're anti anybody owning gun. That's why I'm not going to listen to you.
No, that's being ignorant, my brother.
I know. I'm messing with her. See, I'm messing with her because she's anti-gun, so I can mess with her. But I agree with you, Dr. Brown. In seriousness, my real thought is yes, right? I think he was actually shocked himself, right? So that's the problem. I agree.
Oh, thank you, Simone. Here's the answer for that. Your cousin was careless for leaving the gun on the table where a child is present in the house. I completely agree. Someone else wrote a comment. I'm sorry. I just want to make sure that we address that, and then we could bring Jalen on because he's waiting patiently. Movies, meta, rap, trap, video games, celebrities, etc., taking children into another world of an unruly lifestyle. It's just, I guess, beginning. More to come.
So
Just begun. More to come.
So Dr. Brian,
Mm-hmm.
God rest my friend's soul. I was driving in her car years ago, right? I know guns are illegal. Well, not in New York City. Actually, it's not illegal in New York City. It's illegal in certain places in New York City. So I was driving in the car,
Mm-hmm.
and she started blasting this gangster rap, right? And it was talking about the violence. I said to her, "Why are you playing this around your kid? Because they can't make the connection completely yet." She's like, "Oh, I'm grown.
Mm-hmm.
I should be able." They don't have kids. Because when you have kids, it comes with certain responsibility. You need to be able to compartmentalize it. You can't always be 100%.
Mm-hmm.
But you could be 99.9%.
There you go. If I need to go, if I know I love rap music, I love gangster rap, I'm going to go out to the club with my friends and hang out where my kids can't come.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? One thing I tell my wife is have friends so you rotate who babysits.
Really?
Right? So this way that as adults, it's kind of like having that designated driver in the group, John.
Right.
Right? Tonight is not your night to drink. Right?
Mhm.
Tonight is for us to drink, and we'll rotate how it's done. Right? So that's one of the issues that, so we can't just blame the rappers, right? Because there's a market for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we have to look at both. We have to say, what are we doing to say you can't do that? I'm not gonna buy your music. Versus, oh yeah, I buy your music, but note that as a parent, I should not be cursing at my kids doing these different things. Because like I was with a friend. The friend called me Roderick. The kid called me Roderick, and I was looking at the kid. I was like, I was taken aback
Why?
because you and I are not on the same age.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Mr. Roderick to you.
Mm-hmm.
Where is that? And the parent was sitting right there.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Where are those things? So there's one thing I want to let's talk about the school shooting in Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Let's talk about that. Guy has no relations with Michigan State and goes in and killed 3 people. When I was reading the stories, I was like, wow. I was amazed.
Why?
I think that's the second mass shooting at Michigan State in the last 5 or 10 years.
And a young girl, just 2 sophomores, 1 junior.
Yeah.
And
one boy.
and I'm wondering
I'll
what
call you right now.
affiliation did he have? What affiliation did he have with the universe? What affiliation he had
Oh,
with
wrong.
students?
That's John's mic. He had no affiliation with the university. And he had 2 legal guns, by the way. They weren't registered.
It's just like the guy this past week with the U-Haul truck,
Oh,
mowing down
my
people like that.
goodness.
And then once he gets in the court, oh, me crazy, me crazy.
Did you hear that? The family came out and said he had issues of mental problems.
Well, he should have never had a car.
I'm gonna show him what mental illness is.
He should have never.
Whoop his.
He should not have
See, I
ever.
didn't say it, Audrey.
Okay. If you know that your family member has episodes of seeing images of doing all types of things, your family member taking drugs or whatever, they have no business being behind a car.
True.
They have no business driving a plane. They have no business driving a train. So better yet, you go and get a U-Haul truck from Florida, not even in New York. You drove it from Florida all the way from the south, all the way up here. And then decide, if you watch the video, to see how, there were people riding, minding their business. Finally, you see people riding on the bike lane. And he purposely took his car and ran after them and ran on the man.
Makes no difference in the territory, just on the trial.
Right.
Makes no difference.
Dragging the man, killing the man, and another one in critical condition. There was an older guy who was 60-something who ran out the way because he saw him coming and jumped to him. What, every image that you saw, he was seeing moving images? No. Lord have mercy. But here, I commend the police officers who ran to go and tell the school that had the little kids out to run back in. Because that was his next area. But 45 minutes running all over New York City, Brooklyn, to terrorize people, my goodness.
We have to.
And he's 60-something. Remember we spoke about that a few months ago? What's going on with these 60-something-year-old individuals that are killing people, ramming people, shooting people? What's going on? You don't expect that from a 60-something-year-old individual. You expect that from someone younger, but it is disappointing. Simone, you said you disagree with what? Sometimes we can't control what a crazy relative does. That is true. That is true.
That comes to who do you live with, right? Who do you live with? Because sometimes, as John called it, rats. Sometimes you need to be a rat or a snitch because you save lives.
Yeah, it's How is they buy a gun, but they're insane and they commit an act? You're right. It's unfortunate. Mental health, we have no control over it. And Simone, it's so funny you said old age crisis, I guess. No, we have a serious crisis. Old, young, little, whatever.
Intergenerational, that's what it needs.
Yeah, we're in trouble overall. And we need more than prayer. But we need people to just get involved. If you notice, and this is what I'm saying, Simone, if you know that your family members, you have no control over everything, but if you know that they have a history of mental illness, they have no business driving because you don't know when they're going to have an episode.
I think I know what Simone is getting at, and I kind of agree with her
Hmm.
a little bit. If my children,
Hmm.
my whomever, they don't live with me, right? I'm not there with them, right? Um,
Hmm.
I'm not sure that I'm able to resolve a situation that I don't really have control over.
Big Mo,
And
welcome,
I,
Big Mo.
right? So I think that's what she's trying to say. Maybe I'm not getting it right. It's hard to. We're here casting blame and say A, B, C, D, and E, but we
Hmm.
don't know that um, what that conversation looked
Hmm.
like from that angle. Like we're here reading what the me. Remember one of the things. So last 2 weeks ago, and I'm sure John can talk about this as well, right? 2 weeks ago when I was on television, right? And we did the news, and I'm excited about the spotlight, right? To be in on the spotlight.
Ain't never, you ain't never seen a spotlight you ain't like.
No, wait, hold on, John, right?
Andre, you can chime in on this one.
No, 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 no. That's not what I'm saying. So just hear me out on this one, right? I spoke for 10 minutes,
Hmm.
right? I spoke for 10 minutes. The media, right, only took one sentence of everything that I said.
Hmm.
It got the point across, but it's one sentence. So what I'm saying from that is, though I well, because what the highlight that they're doing was excellent, it's still only a small portion of what that family has to go through.
Right.
So we don't know all of the details, right? We don't know if that man did something behind the family's back. We don't know the things that we just don't know.
Hmm.
And we're here making a statement on something that we don't know all of the information,
That's true. That is true.
right? That's all I'm saying, right? It could be complete negligence and the family fault. Point.
I'm not blaming the family. I'm not blaming, don't get me wrong, I'm not blaming the family, but there are some precautions that you could put in place.
And what are those?
So, Simone wrote, you take away some mental person car keys and they get worse. Some will try to burn down the house or kill said family members. So, I think being present is so important. For him to have gone to Florida, that's great. But we need to check up on our family members, especially the ones who have mental illness. Yes, to keep
I'm
track
gonna
on where they're at. You could disagree with me all you want, but it's
so
the truth.
so here's why I disagree.
Hmm.
You're not wrong, but I disagree. I disagree because that's the left side of the Democratic Party speaking, right?
The
Because
lefties.
Is that realistic?
Yeah, it
Is
is.
it realistic?
It
No,
is.
it's not. So,
It
so wait,
is.
wait, 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 wait. Hold on, hold on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Your son goes to school, and he comes home from school at a certain time,
Mm-hmm.
right? Your son, right, or your daughter. I'm not saying you, Dr. Ryan, or I'm just saying the you as in the general you.
Mm-hmm.
Your son is on the way home. Your daughter's on the way home from school,
Mm-hmm.
and decides, right, that they're going to do A, B, C, and D, and E. Can you, as a parent, so all of a sudden they say, "How could your parent do? What could you have done?" You think many parents
Mm-hmm.
out there want their kid to go and commit a crime?
No.
The other
No.
part of that, the other part of the conversation is sometimes even within our own families, because remember, when it becomes personal, it's a whole different conversation,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? We feel that we can manage the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Why do people live in crime-infested areas? Because they feel like no crime is going to happen to them. When a crime happens, go, why didn't you move? Well, it never happened to me before. So why would
Right.
I move? So
Right.
the logic of what you guys, it's I'm outside, I'm in a glass house, and I'm throwing stone at the individual outside there. The reality of the situation is, right? I have, we have family members who do negative things, and we
Mm-hmm.
see it.
Mm-hmm.
But I tell people all the time, if you're a liar and a thief, you're gonna lie and steal from me because you're gonna run out of people.
True. 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 So
When you,
true about that.
if your children, I will tell my sons, do not have lying friends.
Mm-mm.
Oh, you're my boy, you're my girl, I'm not gonna lie on you. Yes, you will, because you're a creature of habit. So therefore, at the end of the day, Dr. Brian, I'm not saying the situation is not so cut and dry. And
Yes.
one thing for certain, are you going to send your child off? How many people on this line right now would send your kid to jail? Send your kid to a mental institution?
How
How
you
many?
go?
Wait. Better question. How many do you have?
How many what?
We all have somebody who went to jail in our family. We all have somebody who we know needs to go to the mental Bellevue or the nut house. How many of us have sent them? Or is it somebody else from the outside who sent them?
Outside all the time.
All the time. So let's get real. Don't throw the stone outside and blame people. I'll let it run a U-Haul.
All right. All right.
I have something, right? So I'm looking at the cop, right? The cop that they want to arrest for
what?
insurrection, Shane Lamont.
Mm.
I think that was the same son of a gun that gave me a ticket in Myrtle Beach.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So my family and I in 2011.
Of 2011, he's remembering that. Oh my God.
I know what it is. I can tell you. So spring break 2011, my family and I went to vacation in Myrtle Beach.
Mm-hmm.
Trauma.
I'll never go back again.
Huh?
I'll never go back there again.
I noticed I used the word vacation, John.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
So we went to vacation in Myrtle Beach, and I'm driving behind a car. The car stopped. I stopped. The car took off. I stopped. I took off. The cop pulled me over, and he gave me a ticket for not failure to stop at a stop sign.
Right.
And I remember the name because I remember the ticket.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if it's the same first name, but the last name is definitely the same.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I'm wondering, back then he was Detective Lamont.
Oh, thank you for sharing this, Simone. She said my daughter had a breakdown and had to be admitted. It was the hardest thing to do, but I had to do it. Yeah, sometimes it's beyond our control,
Amen.
and we need more support than we can give.
We do.
So thank you for sharing that with us, Simone.
But so the question that I have for Simone and that same question is, what did it take? How long did it take? Was it a point where it was
But
out of your?
she did it. She did it.
Yes, I agree, and so we're thankful before something severe. But is it a situation where she didn't have signs before, right? Is it that situation, or did she, um, did she then decide to do it based based upon, um, it was now out of my control and I can't handle it? So was it the initial look, or now it's out of control and I can't do it?
So, she said, here we go. There were no signs at all, none whatsoever.
That's tough. That is
Mhm.
definitely tough.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know, and I'm glad you did it. How did that work out, by the way?
Thank you for sharing. You know our guest is on, right? Waiting on you.
Huh?
You asked for Jalen to come on.
Well, that's on you. I'm waiting for you. Jalen, where you at? I thought we mentioned that Jalen was going to be our co-host today.
Like, a
Oh,
few minutes.
yep. Simone, 100%. That's a major warning sign, telltale sign right there.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I'm glad you didn't say what parents say, which is they're going to grow out of it.
Mm.
Yeah, because the thing is, unfortunately, uh, many parents don't know the warning signs. Many
Mhm.
adults don't know the warning signs. Sometimes you don't have warning signs
Mm.
at all. Look, we watch people all the time, like we were discussing a couple of weeks ago. We watch people entertaining us, but there's no warning sign that we can see,
Mm.
but there's a breakdown somewhere.
There's a disconnect.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
She says she's
Um,
in counseling now. Great.
yeah, I mean, Simone, you're touching on a couple points that I think sometimes we up here overlook down there.
Thank
One
you.
point that you're touching on is that we are giving black kids counseling because we as black folks on average don't believe in counseling. Right? And thank you for sharing this. Thank you for
Yeah,
sharing.
yes. And she said I used to be suicidal, so I was not going to play around with that. And
Where's
that's
Jalen?
that. Jalen is the commercials speak about parents having friends in their home.
The commercial.
Counseling work. You're so right, Simone. Counseling does work. Um, I agree. Because there's so much that we go through on a daily basis that we deal with.
Mhm.
Sometimes we know how to deal with it, sometimes we don't know how to deal with it. And just talking it out. Because I went to counseling, I took my kids to counseling, you know, so I have no problem in doing that. We went to family counseling. And sometimes you need that adult moment to say, hey, you know what? There's certain things that's a lot, but I need to speak about it and I need another feedback from someone else. Until my counselor was like, okay, please, enough. So it's it's a good thing. It's a good thing, and you can get counseling anywhere, from church, from school. You want to do it outside of school, and
Outside school, be more
yeah,
comfortable.
absolutely. You want, you know, and get someone you're comfortable with. Someone you're comfortable with.
I think it's very important.
Hmm.
It's very important that we acknowledge that. I hate to say this, but I find that as Black folks, we say more than we do. No, we don't agree with what we don't do what we say. We say
Mhm.
more than we do, meaning that, like for example,
Mhm.
they tell you numerically, right, that 20% of your income must be vested in your children's education.
You know what?
Hold on,
Hold on.
hold on,
Hold
hold on.
on. Go ahead. Because I want to address what Simone says. I actually disagree with what you said. More Black people need to go to counseling. Stop listening to churches that say if you're a Christian, you can't be depressed. That's not true. That's not true. I have come across so many pastors who actually mention that they went through depression. My pastor mentioned about being depressed.
I, I agree, Simone.
No, I disagree. Because the
No,
thing is, I disagree.
no, I
And the
hear you.
reason
I hear
being
you.
I will disagree is because I have had, I actually attend and fellowship with different churches who pastors publicly state that they attend counseling because you know what? Sometimes you need, when you're dealing with so many different events going on within a course of a day or with life trauma,
Right.
that certain things you cannot handle, and they publicly say that they went through depression. Just because you're in church don't mean you don't get depressed. Please, you know how many times I got depressed, and kids get depressed, and adults. Look at the governor right now of no, one of the senators in Pennsylvania. He admitted he checked himself in for depression.
Butterman.
Yes. So it is an ongoing thing that, hey, you know what, your moods change, you go through different events, you know, death. That's one of the things. Death, sometimes you think you dealt with it, but you didn't. You know, if you go through
I don't.
divorce, if you go through different trauma thing, you go through different having a child, you go through postpartum depression. So there's so many ways, and they actually preach go and get counseling. They're not saying that, hey, sometimes you got to go beyond the church counseling, and they mention that even as pastors, they go to counseling. So well, so we have different types of pastors, but the pastors that I affiliate with, thank God, they're honest, they're real. You know, they're talking about life events because life is not all cherries and blossom and all of that. But guess what? When it's too much, you gotta say, hey, you know what? It's too much. Let's talk. Let's
So
work
I
this
don't think that's what Simone is saying, right? We know just like we're on the air telling people they need to go to counseling,
out.
right? Right. So we're not denying,
Here's
right?
what Simone said. Long time
Right.
ago. hmm
So the first of all, West Indian pastors and West Indian people, on a whole, not everyone, because we're all three of us here are West Indian, right?
hmm
I can tell you up front, as an adult, I never went to counseling. I've never gone to counseling as an adult. I went marriage counseling a couple of times, but as an adult, I've never gone to counseling.
hmm hmm
Okay, because it's frowned upon. When I was younger, I did, and
hmm
in my family, that was frowned upon. So when you say you went to counseling, I
hmm
like to say to people, right? I like to say you and I might be the anomalies of what is happening, but I always like to say, take a look at your whole family.
hmm
Don't just
hmm
take a look at yourself. Look at your entire family. How many members of your family do this? So, of the 10 people in your family, the 15 people, the 20 people, the 30 people, whatever the number is,
hmm
how many of them actually have done this? And if you say, well, John, Peter, and Paul do it,
hmm
right? John, Peter, and Paul do it, right? Which is fine. What about the other 27? How many of the other 27 do it? So when
But guess what?
that's what I was saying.
Someone has to set an example.
We're
Guess
not
what?
saying no.
Yeah, but guess what? At the end of the day, too many. Okay, you're right.
That's
True,
what she's
Raj. It
saying.
is frowned upon in the West Indies country. Good evening, James. West Indian country. When you say you're depressed, they tell you you're a two-lick what? You want?
That two lick you
You
want.
want, you
You
want
want that?
a beating about your body.
You want the box?
That's a real conversation. That is said more than what you're saying about going to
Yeah,
counseling.
let me tell you something. It's so true. My mother never say act crazy. Go ahead and act crazy, but they
Yes.
didn't understand. But the discipline, but the level of discipline in Caribbean households is far different than the discipline in American households.
But
Those like you.
I've seen church, right? I've seen church. I've seen it, physically seen it.
Mm-hmm.
Where in the church, the person was having a seizure in church. Guess what they said in church? She was having a seizure. You know what they said? The devil is in her.
Mm.
The
Well,
devil.
that is ignorance. And
But that's
as
not the point.
time goes by, we realize how some people have been ignorant.
But that's not just some people. They still think that way.
But you know what? People are changing. And I'm thinking
I'm
positive.
so glad that you see some level of silver lining, Dr. Ryan. But you also, for me, yes, I hear the silver lining. I see the silver lining.
Especially if you have pastors who aren't too educated. Heaven helps you.
Thank you.
That's true.
Thank you.
That's true. Mm-hmm.
Amen.
Right? You have a pastor as a pastor of divinity. No, go get a psychology degree. I think as a pastor, you need to have a psychology degree.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You need to have one of those. Because at the end of the day, the Bible alone is not going to help you through your mental issues.
Right.
Because you need to seek wisdom
Mm-hmm.
along with everything else. And if you I can't pray out of you seeing demons.
Hi, Empress. You're saying hi and bye. Why are you saying bye, Empress? Greetings.
She's on vacation.
Oh, is she still in Florida?
No.
You guys, wait. Jalen said he's ready.
Okay. So I don't want to minimize. I really don't want to minimize. I don't want people to leave with any thought that I'm minimizing the importance of prayer. Right? That's not what I'm saying. I'm just simply saying that we need more pastors to remind their congregation to get help.
Mm-hmm.
Right? To get help. Jalen, you're muted. You have to unmute yourself.
You gotta unmute yourself, my friend. You're muted.
At the bottom of your screen, Jalen, there's a mute button there. Click on it. It says
Are
mute.
you using your phone?
Yes, he's using a phone. It's a phone he's on.
Okay.
Right? So I don't want that level of
I can't hear you on the I can't hear you on the thing. I can't hear you.
We can hear you.
On the thing.
On the phone?
on the iPad.
Hold on.
Here on Jalen.
We can hear you, my friend.
Jalen.
Hold on.
Jalen.
I am.
Jalen.
Jalen.
Dr. Brian.
Uh-huh.
Do a one away. Just step out. I'll give Andre the phone to call him. Tell him to listen. Andre can hear me too. Tell him to leave the mic, log in on both gadgets, right? Mute one and do the visual on the other because you can still hear.
That's a lot.
But it's not a lot. That works.
Okay. Yeah, Andre.
So The other, so
Oh my God.
big
Alright.
news
Okay, what's
down
the big
south,
news?
right?
What's the big news?
Nikki Haley's running for president.
Are you gonna vote for her?
John, how do you, actually? I like what you're saying. She's like, I am an immigrant. I'm
Oh,
Indian.
she okay. You could be an immigrant. She's from India, but does she understand the immigrant experience? The way she's
No.
challenging what's going on at the border and everything else.
Did you hear what she said, John?
No,
Is America is not racist. Where did you get that from?
Cancun.
Everyone in America is not racist. That's a different statement.
Mm,
But you're not to acknowledge that racism exists in America, you have an issue.
mm,
Right? You can't make America is not racist. Where do you get that from?
mm. Well,
it's a general statement.
Do you agree with that statement? Okay, so she also made a couple jabs at Trump.
Yeah. You know, my thing with Nikki Haley is, why people try, why are, I'm sorry, go ahead. Why are people challenging the president's mental faculties based upon his age?
But she did that for Trump too.
What I'm saying is, that's my point. Why are we, if that's the case, then why don't we change Supreme Court judges, United States Supreme Court judges, when they
Yep.
hit a certain age? So I just don't understand.
I agree with you. But she was jabbing at both Trump and that was at both, right? So she was jabbing at Trump, right? So she was saying that Trump needed to step back and let the new generation go, right? So
yeah,
right. So at the end of the day, she was telling both people,
because she want to take power.
don't vote for Trump, vote for me. I like the fact that Congress needs to have term limits.
I agree with that. I agree with the term limits. I think it's time. I think it's
Right.
time.
Okay, now I can hear you guys. Now I can hear you.
Okay.
Jalen, what's up, my brother?
Hey, my friend, how are you?
Dylan,
I'm good.
I was so looking forward to hearing from you. How you doing? Welcome to the Village Radio Talk Show.
Thank you.
Right. So we've been exciting one of our young listeners there all day. So what you gonna do for us today?
So I'm gonna talk about some people from Black History Month. Our first one is Reggie Jackson from 1985. Okay. The final game of the 1977 World Series. Jackson based 3 home runs for each of the first hit to him is in the memories of those who saw it in 27 fall classic games.
Let me stop you for a second. You know, I'm gonna stop you for a second.
Why?
What's the last name of the person you're talking about?
Reggie Jackson.
Okay, so who is? I know why he chose this, but who is his favorite person of all time that Jalen loved? And you can be honest, that you look up to, you admire, you sleep, you dance, you think about, and nothing else.
Wait, say that question again real quick.
So who is it that you really admire? Because I think Reggie Jackson is a side off, but who is it that you?
I admire Michael Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
I admire him.
Okay, why?
Cause No, I'm gonna tell you this true story. So me and my family, we went to St. Lucia. So when we went to the trip, I saw Michael, but I didn't actually know Michael Jackson that much. So I saw him, and I was like, "Isn't that the person who's in that music video?" Because I know Thriller, because they played it in my old kindergarten school. So I was like, "Isn't that the guy who played in the zombie music thingy?" So I asked my dad, who is a singer, and then he said Michael Jackson. So I said, "Is this really Michael Jackson?" And then he said, "No, the real Michael Jackson died in 2009."
So, what is it about him? that you
So
like?
it was like when he did the moonwalk. It was like when he did the moonwalk, the Billie Jean, like all of his songs, he did it there.
But
And
that's so long ago. Why? At
no,
10 years old, that's
no,
what you
no,
feel
because
about
the
the
thing is that
moonwalk.
I did the moonwalk on the first try, and after that I kept on doing the dance, and after that I said, "This is Michael Jackson. I'm learning this from." So I go up and I go up on YouTube. So I search up Michael Jackson, and I see all these songs. So I put one of the Smooth Criminal songs on, and I'm just like jamming to the beat. I'm like moving my head to the beat. So I'm like, man, this is a cool song. So I listen to the other songs, and I'm like, maybe I should start this when I grown up. So after a few months, there was something at my kindergarten school, and I dressed up as Michael Jackson, and they had me play the song that I listened to, and I didn't actually dance. I actually danced to the song, but I danced to the rhythm of the song.
Oh,
And then
really?
after, there was a talent show that came up, and after that, that's when I really got into Michael Jackson. That's when I really got into Michael Jackson.
The older
So
Michael Jackson or the younger Michael Jackson?
I would pick the older Michael Jackson, because I like the one from 1988 and 1987, 1988, 1989. I like the 1980s one.
1980s. Listen to this 10-year-old talking about he likes 1980s.
So what happened?
Because he made
So Jenny, what happened to ABC? 1, 2, 3.
I still listen to that. I still listen to that. 'Cause I still listen to the beat of that song. I still listen to it.
But you like your Thriller,
Yeah, I like that one. And
night.
after that, I like the Human Nature one.
Which one is
Where he
that?
goes like, and
What
they
does this
say
sound
who
like?
I what, like that one.
Which I didn't hear you. Say it again. I didn't hear.
Wait, do you want me to sing the full song, or do you want me to like sing
If
it?
you know what, I'm gonna have to when you sing it, I'm gonna have to replay it for my wife when she gets here, but she loves her song.
So it goes like this. So it goes like, wait, hold on. And they say who I tell him that he's human nature. Who I And they say who I tell him that he's human nature. Who I reaching out across the lifetime.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so very much.
Jalen, thank you, my brother. You sound not like Michael Jackson. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I've been practicing every day
You
on my
practicing.
voice. I've been practicing.
Well, with his dancing, he got that pat. But the singing, we gotta continue.
I don't know why you interrupting my boy in his talent. I want to hear his
No,
talent. You know any other Michael Jackson talent?
He could dance any Michael
I'm
Jackson
listening
song.
to Jalen. Jalen, you have any other Michael Jackson song you know?
Yeah, I know one. It's like a part of the Thriller album.
Oh God! Here he goes. He stood up.
Wait.
Don't be surprised if he get the glove. I'm serious.
Star Search on the Village.
That's what I'm talking about.
All right. Hold up. So it's a part of the Thriller album. I got the album right here. And then after, I even have like everything of Michael Jackson.
So,
So
you,
it's
my God,
called
have you seen Michael Jackson's play yet?
He's obsessed about Michael Jackson.
So
Have
the
you seen the
song
play?
is
You got to tell your
called.
parents to bring you to New York so you can see the Michael Jackson play.
The song is called "You Want to Be Starting Something." That's what it's called right
You
here.
want to be starting something?
Something. You gotta be
So it goes
starting.
like this. You wanna be starting something, you got to be starting something. You wanna be starting something, you got to be starting something. Tag it over. It's like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
It's like that. Put up,
That's
get in the,
Yeah, yeah,
back in the middle.
yeah,
You
yeah.
play me sing. It goes like that.
Well,
So
And
thank
that.
Jalen, we want to thank you for being on the village tonight. We appreciate you bringing it, like MJ would bring it.
Would you like to end it with a dance for them?
What you said? What?
Would you like to end it with a dance for them? The Michael dance.
Yeah. I would love to. Wait, so end it with the dance?
Yes.
Alright. I'm gonna show them.
But they can't see you.
Wait, hold up.
Oh. You gotta watch the kick. You're missing the kick, Roderick.
oh, look at you. Look at
You're missing the kick.
Hold up. Let me get this.
Oh,
the
the glove. Oh my God.
Where's the hat? Where's the hat, Jalen?
Oh my
Hold up.
Where's the hat? Oh, come on. If he's doing the whole thing.
No, the thing is, he'll go to.
There we go. That's it. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, that's good.
Well, thank you so much.
Michael, enough, Michael. It's
Well,
time
thank
to move
you
on,
so
Michael.
very much. We appreciate you for coming on.
We
Jalen's
appreciate you.
here. We
Jalen, you are the bomb.
Jalen, you are the bomb. It takes a lot of guts for someone to come on
Yeah,
the village
because
and perform.
it
Michael
actually
Jackson.
took me a lot. It actually took me, I'm gonna say until 2020 it took me to. It took me to 2020 to learn to dance till 2023.
So we thank you so much
Big up, Jalen. Big up.
for being on the village.
Yes,
We
thank you.
appreciate
Thank you so much.
Oh, if I had this kid in school, I'll make him a star. Oh, Jalen, you heard that? It's nice to have you back, Mr. Gentile. We're glad to have you back. You hear that, Jalen? They'll make you a star.
Yeah, by the
All
way,
right.
Mr. Gentile Jalen is a dancer and a singer by far. So he taught pop dancing and everything in school. So that's good. You did a good job. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. It's great having you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah, that was pretty. That's very talented. You know. By the way, Mr. Gentile, if you have Mr.
Next week, I'm going to invite Elvis to the show.
No, I don't want no Elvis.
That boy is obsessed with Michael.
Yeah. So, kudos to my son. If I forget.
Oh, yes, for going out there. Congrats.
Oh, no, that's not what I was talking about. But yes, that too.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that too. Because he's very excited. He's actually just got on the plane now. He's on his way down. So he just got accepted into school.
What school is that?
I don't know if I'm allowed to say yet, but he just got accepted.
Which one? The youngest one?
Grayson.
Okay.
How old is Grayson?
10.
So he's going to a boarding school, probably.
He just got accepted to the number 21 school. Number 17 school.
Looking grass.
In Connecticut, I bet.
He's actually smarter than his dad and his mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
That don't take a lot.
Poly prep. Poly prep.
Huh?
Oh,
Poly-
Poly Prep. Yeah, that's a great school. I had friends who went there.
Yeah, so that's where he's going. Mommy's gonna kill me for announcing it on the air, but I'm just so excited.
Why he couldn't go to Packer? Could have went to Packer, brother. Could have
Well,
went to Packer, brother.
it's okay.
Um,
Poly Prep,
you know-
Poly Prep is the bomb.
Could have
So
went to Packer, baby.
It's
I'm gonna
okay.
tell you why he didn't. So, oh, by the way, so we're gonna segue a little bit since I'm talking about my son. I segue a little bit to talk about something that people are missing, right? Yeah, I saw that, right? The highlight, some kidnapping of a child down here in
Oh,
Clay
boy.
County. You know how they do those awareness alert when you're driving? It just popped up on
Right.
Amber Alert. What did I say? Right. So because of Amber, a missing child. So anyway, so Packard John wasn't in the fold, not because he didn't qualify to go to Packer, but Packer only accept in the 5th grade. So we didn't know that. You get what I'm saying?
Except in what grade?
So he couldn't go to Packer in the 6th grade. He would have to go from this year.
Yeah, it's usually from 5, 7, 5,
Yeah.
6.
Like 5'9" and something, like 5'9" or 5'8" and something.
Nah, I don't know.
Right. So he couldn't go. But what I gotta tell parents out there, a lot of if you I alluded to it a little bit when I said that we need to spend 20% of our incomes on education, right? And a lot of people, like, I always say to a parent, apply to a school, tell them what you can afford to pay, and see if the
They'll work
school
with you. Mhm.
They
Will
work
match.
with you. They will work with you.
That school in general, and they're great
Right.
with wrestling.
and I gotta tell you, my son got a nice financial aid package, right? For the level of education that he's going to get.
Mhm.
And while a lot of parents are like, and that's one of the things I used to hate about like some college, high school counselors. Oh, just apply to this school because you can't afford. How do you know what the school is going to give you? Right? And remember, it's 20% of your income that's supposed to go toward education. So when you look at it, right, from the moment you start working and you know you want to have a family, you need to put away 20% of the income going towards a family, going towards that. So very excited. There are a couple of programs out there.
They have a good athletic department.
They do.
Yes, they do.
They do.
Yes, they do. He's going to go play baseball for them.
Packer got a better team. Sorry. Nothing.
He's a hater right now, but it's all
John,
good. Yeah. Trust me, I love Poly Prep. So
yeah. Well, wait. Well, John, just like your daughter goes to Swarthmore, I went to Haverford. What I'm most excited about is that they're going to college. They're going to. Then we could go to the competing, but they have to get there first before we can start competing between Swarthmore and Haverford, right? All right.
3 and Warren. Thank you.
Hey, what's up, brother Warren?
Yeah. Hey, Warren. Right. And so one thing is.
Well, how many can put away 20% of their income? You're correct.
It's not a matter of how many can, right? Everybody can, but it requires a change of lifestyle. It's hard to tell somebody to do something like when you never had anything, right? So all of a sudden you never had anything, you make $100,000 a year, and for you to say I have to put away $20,000, now you want to have a fancy car, you want to live in a nice place, you want to do this, you want to do that, right? So it's hard to say to that person, put away $20,000. It's $20,000 of your income goes towards education, right? 10% of your income goes towards retirement, and 25% of your income goes towards your where you live. So immediately from your income, right? 55% of your income goes towards some level that is automatically ruled out. So you basically have to live off 45% of your income.
First,
That's
you
what
need
it
to
comes down
teach
to.
people to do it. That is
Huh?
so correct. He said, first, we
Yes.
need to teach people to do it.
Right.
Financial literacy must be taught not in high school, elementary school.
I
That's
Middle
remember
true.
when we were
Mhm.
young, we had the East New York Savings Bank over there on Rockaway Parkway and Rutland, and we used to have the passbook. We used to, save our little money and get the bonds and stuff. Financial literacy is so important. That's something that's so lacking in our community. Lacking the education from the inception. Those who can put away, put away. Those who can say, you don't go to that.
Yeah, the passport books.
Yeah.
You actually had to
Um,
budget. Where
so,
ATM, you don't really have to as much.
so the question, Warren, your retirement money needs
You
to be
want to do
saved
pre-tax,
gross. So your retirement money comes gross.
pre-tax.
Everything else
Correct.
is net.
Mhm.
Okay. So retirement is gross. Education, right? Like if you don't have children right now, right, then you don't have to put away 20%. If you don't have children now, you can put away less, but you put it like in a right.
If you know, but you can put it in. You can put it in Roth. You can put it in the 529 too.
Yeah, it's a 529K, right?
529.
And that will gain monies as the children are younger. So you don't wait. That's what I was saying. That we are more reactive than preventative.
Mhm.
No, and I agree. I agree, Roger, because thank God I was very fortunate to understand the importance of doing something like that. So when my daughter when she went to Columbia, homegirl walked out of Columbia just owing just a small amount of money, and the reason
Yep.
was is because it made her take a loan to establish credit. So I think those are things. Do as much as you can with whatever you have. And like you said, apply for that financial aid because there's so many scholarships out there. Yeah, it was 7%. Yeah, 7%. It was 7% interest back then. That's true. Now
Yeah,
we'd be lucky if we get a percent.
it's
We're lucky
what
if we get a percent now.
one of the things, like when I just started teaching, and I was telling teachers that they need to save. When I just started teaching, right? I didn't. When people said to me, "Yo, Mr. Daly, you need to put your money in your TDA and your TRS," I didn't want to do that.
Mhm.
Right? I didn't want to do that. Right? And then once I started doing it, I'm telling other people to do it,
Mhm.
and they're saying the same thing, right? And so it's important, like sometimes, because when you do your retirement money or your 529K, you don't really see the hit on your salary. You might see like a little small change, but you won't see a full change because it changes your tax bracket.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So
That's
people
right.
have to understand that. So it changes how much money you get taxed on.
Buy
Um,
bonds now.
there are different invested tools, and that's why I need to talk to a financial advisor. So that just made me talk about that. But so, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching, viewing The Village, sharing The Village. Remember, we are on a 1,000 person, right? Right. Right here on 92.1 FM, GD Radio, on Facebook, on YouTube. We're on the 1,000 push. So if you know a friend, tell a friend to subscribe to our station. We're brought to you by Single Parents University, where you can get courses on just what we're just talking about: financial management, financial literacy, support seminars, nutrition and wellness, stay alive well enough to spend your money so you can retire early, personal development, mindful parenting, things that these are things that we're talking about on the show already. So call them at 646-779-6767 or text SPU to 71441. Again, you need help, they'll find transportation, social support hub resume and cover letter writing, career exploration, and legal assistance. So text SPU to 71441 or call 646-779-6767. All right. It's really exciting. I know we segue a little bit, but this is a village. It takes a village to raise a child, so raise a community.
And you know what I want to add? Thank you, Warren. We will be having people come on to discuss the different financial literacy topics.
If you have any recommendations, Warren, let us know, man. Please.
You know what else too? What I find to be important, Dr. Bryant and John, on the same subject, is testimonials. Right? I think we need to have a lot more people that look like us, not just the people who are doing it and talking about it, but the testimonials of those who have benefited from it. Like the kids, like literally bring young people on who have benefited from what we're talking about right now. Right?
But you know who needs support right now? Those who are ready for eviction. We need to be able to help some of those people.
Pay the rent. They need to pay the damn rent. Oh, they need to pay the rent.
Well,
you worry about eviction. There's some people who were working while they were getting all that money, and they did not pay the landlord a dime. This is my biggest gripe with this. Landlords need tenants and tenants need landlords, but they constantly pit one against the other, creating such chaos and confusions. Because at the end of the day, who's benefiting from it? The mortgage companies and also government. Because they then become abandoned property, abandoned buildings. They snatch them up and they sell it so they continue to get their revenue, their tax revenue. So, yeah, we need to help them out. But there's a lot of tenants who take advantage of the situation and don't want to pay. They were getting ERAP money, they're getting everything. And did not want to hand it over to the landlord. During the pandemic era.
Last night, in my community board, we had
you ain't lying, Warren. That's right.
Right. We had a rezoning meeting, right, in our community. And one of the things that came up was like a lot of these landlords who come into the community, they buy these buildings, rebuild them, and some of them are vacant, but they need their money. So they then have to maybe give them out to the government for homeless shelters, for these things. Like they did a couple of hotels within our community. One of the things, John, I love when you make the statement.
I'm on a roll tonight, man.
Regressive taxes. I listen to you, right?
Definitely.
I didn't get a chance to say what I wanted to say last night, right? But one of the things I say to people, you can't look at the developers building up, creating these apartments, people coming in and taking them, and don't look at the people selling them to the developers, right? So that has to happen. So yes, everybody's like, oh, the developers are a bunch of bullies. But I say you have a pie. And in that pie, you have black folks who are greedy, who don't have the money, and they see the money. You have black seniors who can't afford to stay there because the taxes are too high, right? So now they got to sell out. The rent is too high. I can't afford to live there anymore. You have people who are afraid of crime, even though no crime has ever happened to them, but they're still afraid of it. So they want to leave. You have people who say that the city is just too expensive for us to live in it. Then you have all these cameras coming up. Now people who drive their car, every time you turn around, you get a ticket. Well, why don't you drive slower? No, it has nothing to do with driving slower. It has nothing to do with driving slower. I got someplace to be. New York City says I have to get from point A to point B, because in New York City, the rule is time is money. That's the rule. Then you could add all of these different things, right? So it's not sometimes that people don't believe in generational wealth,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a problem of I can't afford to get there, right? So if you went to Florida and you bought a house, right, and I left it to my kids, it's still generational wealth, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? My parents own a house in Georgia, right? You know, they willed that to me, to my grandchildren, to my children, to I mean not my grandchildren, their grandchildren, or my grandchildren, right? It's still generational wealth. But the generational wealth cannot be gained in New York for a lot of people because you can't afford it. Once I reach 65, 70, remember you have a fixed income.
Right.
Okay. So my point, John, when you look at the rent, when you look at the home ownership, what are you doing to help the home owners stay in New York so they don't have to sell these properties,
They're not doing nothing.
right?
It's all about the money.
Stop telling the homeowner that he or she sold their property $1.75 million to a developer.
And then they move out of New York and they live somewhere else that's cheaper.
Exactly. What is the property tax on a unit that you pay $200,000 per unit,
Mm-hmm.
right? 30 years ago. That unit's now worth $1 million. What the heck is the difference in taxes? Nobody in 30 years, nobody. I don't know if you know anybody, John, that has the same level job in 30 years that have gotten a 600,000% increase. So how are you going to pay the taxes?
Well, the taxes are going up every time they increase and they build these $1 million properties. Your taxes are going to go up. Your neighbors did it, boom.
There you go.
Yep. So now New York City taxes were supposed to be one of the least expensive areas to stay. Hey, 3, 4, 5,000. No, 3, 4,000. So now the taxes are about the same as Long Island. 10,000.
They still with President Trump. We only can write off only $10,000 in interest.
Mm-hmm.
For a bill for President Trump.
It's not the same. It's not the same.
It is almost the same.
It's not.
It is. Yes, it is. New
No.
York City. Yes, it is. It's starting to inch to
It's
go
not
up.
exactly
Yes.
the same. The reason why it's not exactly the same in Long Island is more, but you get more bang. Hold on, your mortgage is less, right? Your mortgage is less depending where you are in Long Island.
Mm-hmm.
In Long Island, there's a compensation. You pay less mortgage, more taxes.
Mm-hmm. You pay more for your property here, and your taxes are going up.
Yes,
anyway.
but it's not the same, right? So $1 million home in Long Island is not the same as $1 million home in New York City.
Of course not.
Right? So the taxes are not necessarily the same one and the same.
Well, Roger, but the same thing sometimes, even thinking of writing off some of those property taxes that people are paying.
Say it again.
You need to write off some of those property taxes people are paying.
Yeah. Right. We need to. So they're not. People are not really willing to fix some of the major problems. One of them is corporate greed.
Mm-hmm. And we're giving discounts left and right? So people can stay here.
Well, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can't,
we end up paying more. So let's think about that.
And you know who's always paying? And I say this all the time. Who's the person who's always paying? The middle class.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Realize for most people, their only asset is their home, and that is their investment.
It's our reliability on government, to provide the train service.
One of the
things. Oh gosh.
One of the other
sometimes you just think about it. You just think about it. The impact. The weight is always on the middle class on everything.
Yes.
Working individuals.
Mm-hmm.
You know, another thing that irks me is everybody wants affordable housing. Affordable one for who? Whatever
Thank
happened to civil servant housing?
They don't have
Those
that
who,
no more.
yeah, the police department,
HUD,
fire department.
HUD homes,
They
building
don't have.
HUD,
Yeah,
HUD homes, yes.
The
Habitat
teacher
for
next
Humanity.
door, police officer next door, this next door.
What's
That's
the-
out the window since the 1990s.
What about it? Like you look at Co-op City, you look at Starrett City.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
No.
when I started teaching, they used to offer special programs and incentives for people to be first-time home buyers. But I'm glad that although there have not been any laws on the books yet,
Mhm.
but I'm glad that there's traction in revisiting a real AMI, right? Average median
Adjusted
income,
average.
right? Average median income, right? So instead of putting it on saying that my average median income is based upon the CEOs
Mm-hmm.
in Westchester,
Mhm.
the actors and the athletes in Midtown Manhattan,
Mm-hmm.
right? You can't take their salary. You need to take where I live. So if the average median income is $100,000, right? That's what it is. If it's 50,000, that's what it is, right? Per family. But don't. I think that they need to address that as well, because that could make housing even more affordable. And on top of that, when you build more opportunities for ownership that Robert Carnegie talked about, that John, you and I talked about. Charles Barron spoke about 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm. He did.
You know, so.
And he brought up some interesting points. Charles Barron, especially about the shelters, where it's being housed, the shelters just being in like areas that's already dealing with an influx of different crimes and situations.
Give me my shelters. Just give me the resources to put the infrastructure around them, the supportive services. I will take those shelters and I will create an environment that is conducive for giving back to the community in all aspects.
Mm-hmm.
Because you look at the majority of people who are in the homeless shelters, unfortunately, are people like us.
Mm-hmm.
So bring them in. We can't cast them away. Bring them. We
I'm
are
not
our brothers
saying
and sisters.
to do that.
We are our
I'm
brothers
not
and
saying
sisters
to
keepers.
do that at all. But
What are you
like
saying, Doc?
mentioned, it needs to be fair, where you cannot put 6-7 shelters right next to each other.
They don't. One, they don't put 6-7 shelters right next to
That's
them.
an example.
That's just an example, but that's a flawed example. Because they can't put shelters next to one another.
John, my problem with shelters on that issue is that they put more shelters in one community and less in other communities.
My brother, I will take the shelters in my community.
No,
I will take the shelters in my community because the bulk of the people who are in shelters look like us.
Again, I'm not objecting to having shelters.
Right.
I'm objecting to the oversaturation of shelters in one community
Mm-hmm.
versus another.
And the shelters don't
There are white people.
everything that you ask
There are
for.
white people
But
who need
that's
shelter.
the whole point.
So it's
So
not
that's what we
fair.
should be advocating for. If you're going to put a shelter in our community, provide all the supportive services that are necessary for it to be in our community.
I'm saying, John, that every race, black, white, Chinese, Hispanic, they all need shelters.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So therefore, you can't say Staten Island don't have shelters at that level. That right? The shelters are in northern Staten Island where the black people live. Midland don't have shelters. Right? It's certainly. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about.
Why would I want to put a shelter in Bensonhurst or those that are not conducive, not welcoming? You know, it's, you know.
You're still missing the point, John.
I'm not, Roger.
The
I am
point
not
is,
missing the point. You talk about
take some of those
oversaturation.
shelters
It's
and
an
turn it into
oversaturation
affordable homes.
It's an oversaturation community. Roderick, Who are in the shelters? What are the majority of people in
Turn
those
some of
shelters?
those shelters into affordable co-ops.
So that's what I'm
Condominiums.
talking about. Take them. It doesn't have to be a shelter. It doesn't have to wind up as a shelter. There's ways in which we can work together and create a different model. So accept it, work with what you have, and create what you want to create.
But why does the migrants have to? The migrants are not from here. Why are they in our community?
Why they are a community? Because
Yeah,
we
they're
have
not from
that.
here.
We
I'm not saying they
accept
shouldn't
them.
be. Wait. Notice,
Basically
I'm not
saying they
saying.
should. So what are
I'm
you
just
saying?
going
They
by
shouldn't
your
be here
argument.
then?
John,
Are
I'm
you
going.
saying they shouldn't be here then? That's what you're saying?
Wait, I'm going by your argument, John.
No, don't go by my argument. You're saying that they should not be here. Is that what you're saying?
No,
I
that's
just want
what
to
I
make
said.
clear. So
I said
okay,
no.
then, so clarify your point then.
No, because my point is, all I'm going to say, you're just like you told Dr. Bryan, her argument is flawed. Your argument is also
So
flawed.
tell me how my argument is flawed if I say accept the
The
migrants.
migrants are coming from Texas. The migrants are coming from Georgia. They're coming from different parts of the United States. If you're going to place them, because they need a place to stay, place them in New York City.
So
Don't
they
place
are being hold on. They are being
Let me give you an
placed in
example
New
of what
York
I'm talking
City.
about, John.
They're placing them in Manhattan, in Midtown Manhattan.
Yep, place them everywhere.
Okay, so exactly, they're placing them everywhere.
No, some communities are more saturated. I give you an example.
You know what? The problem is we always think it's a problem. You know what? If some, you make lemonade, you make lemonade out of lemons. So if you want to give me a whole bunch of lemons, I'm going to make lemonade. You give me a whole bunch of shelters. You know what I'm going to create? I'm going to create affordable housing units. Change the whole dynamics. Give them to me. This is what we
But
think in
then
the box.
again,
Think
they
outside
don't.
the box.
Our community do not get them. So wait. I want to draw a correlation with something. I went to Middle Village on Tuesday for baseball.
Mhm.
And this is factual. This is Roderick Daly speaking.
I
drove-
so good.
Right? No. Sometimes we talk about the stuff that are out there, but I'm giving my personal opinion, right? This is not the opinion of the Village Radio Talk Show. This is my opinion, right? I drove from my house in Flatlands, right, to Miller Village,
Okay. Mhm.
right, for my son's baseball on Metropolitan Avenue.
Right.
Mhm.
My 10-year-old son he was saying to me, he started saying, speed camera ahead. Speed camera. We got to Queens, 1. And the mayor liked to say, and this is going back. So the reason why I'm bringing that up is going back to the shelters, right? I drove through Brooklyn, every turn. Now, I'm exaggerating, but significant more turns. There's speed cameras. In certain communities in Brooklyn, there's significantly more homeless shelters. And it's not like in the community, they're homeless people at that level. So it's not like people in our communities are living on the streets and they need a place to stay. You're introducing people into the community who are homeless. So what happens in Middle Village? People don't drive 36 miles an hour? Why our community alone is getting?
Do you know what this? Do you know how they determine where speed cameras go?
Hmm?
Do you know what basis they determine on where speed cameras go?
They were originally designed to go into school zones.
And on what basis? Why don't you go look at the number of accidents in communities?
They don't. No, actually, that's not true either. That's what they tell you. The reality situation
it's not true because you tell
because I
me it's not
spoke to
true.
them. I asked them the question. I asked DOT, and you know what the explanation is? They weigh the volume differently. So even though there are more, right, there are more accidents and deaths in Manhattan than they are in Brooklyn on Kings Highway, on Linden Boulevard. They put the cameras there, right? Because they say the volume is different. So we might not have one fatality in 10 years, or we might have 2 or 3. And Manhattan might have 50. But they justify it by saying this area doesn't need it. That's what that's their explanation. So I asked them for the data. Where's the data? They want to put this at this school. I said, how many incidents have happened here? 0. 0 incidents have happened. But in the area, so why you put the damn camera here? There's nothing happened here. But why are you doing this?
Regressive tax.
There you go. Because I asked a question. And then, then the mayor's office, or not the mayor's, the DOT office, like say all the bars have this. That's not true. All the areas have the cameras concentrated in an area, not in Staten Island. By the way, in Staten Island, in certain areas, the speed limit is 30 miles an hour.
Amen. Thank you, Carney.
So those are just, I mean, we have this opportunity, John, Dr. Brian, to really address the injustices that are happening to our community. And they're real. Taxes is real. People can't afford things nowadays.
You're right. You're right.
You know,
You're so right. And
I spoke with a principal, right? I spoke with a principal a while back. Every time you talk to these people, oh, we need to put arts in school, but you don't pay for art teachers. Does that make sense? Children need to learn a second language, but then you don't pay for teachers to teach foreign language. So where are they getting the money from?
Well, I'm glad you said the art thing, because there's a commercial that's coming up, right, Andre?
Just send it to me. It's gonna take the time to set
I
it up.
don't know.
So,
Roger, you
let's
just
talk
said
about it
you
right
know
now.
Say that
about
again?
the Community Affairs Bureau?
Yes. And the right.
What am I doing? What am I doing? Like,
Okay. All right.
just
So
talk
Andre
about
said
it now.
no. So anyway, yeah,
You just send it to me.
he said send it to him.
No, I say you just send it to me. So it's just like,
It's fine, Andre. Okay, for those
talk
individuals
about
out
it.
there.
You talk about it, bro.
So the NYPD and the community is partnering with Cops with Kids to talk about Black history. Sorry, my head is down, but I'm reading. Community Affairs Bureau. We'll talk about Black History Month. Art competition theme, My History, My Hero. Artists are invited to submit their artwork in any still medium: photography, painting, sculpture, collage, drawing, installation, fiber, or digital art. You must be under 18, so any age at the high school level. Entry deadline next week, right? Exhibition will be next week. Yeah, next week, Monday is the deadline, so short notice. So if you have students who will do that, you could contact Detective Barry, and her number is 929 343 9439, or you can email her your submissions to Tanya, that's tanya.barry@nypd.org. Again, tanya.barry@nypd.org. You can give her a call at 929-343-9439. Again, please submit your artwork and win a prize and get it posted. Right. Also, just to remind people, next week, February 27th is go to worlddominoes.com and sign up for the domino tournament right here. John said he was coming. He's going to bless us with his non-Chinese skill.
Next week is also winter vacation for a lot of kids. So please look out for the young folks that will be out there in the streets, at home, or whatever. This will be a great opportunity for people to go and experience Black history, try different things, even maybe travel to DC, Buffalo, New York City has some great museums to go and check out. So please take your children out there. If you know some young folks, keep them off the street, take them somewhere safe, and keep them engaged during this opportunity. This is a great time to just spend time with your family and learn and grow together.
Amen.
So, and to just think about those who didn't have that opportunity. When we think about our people in Buffalo, we're still hurting from those who suffered the massacre and the people in Michigan. So please use every little opportunity to make it a unique experience
Amen.
so that you don't forget.
You know, what's one thing that never goes away, Dr. Brian?
Death.
Well, that's true. One thing that never goes away is memory.
Mm-hmm.
Your memory stimulates your thought.
Brother, your memory does go away. So.
No. Yeah, I know, but I'm
with pictures.
no. What I'm saying is that your legacy lives on through your memories, right? So my family, your family remembers a lot more. They might want what money brings, but they value more times. That's why it's good.
Yes.
So it's important to go on vacation, take some time out, right? Because those memories are invaluable. Because how many times we sit down and go, you remember when?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We don't always say that this thing costs this much money, but we say remember when.
Yeah, and it's a great time to be able to just to sit down with your children, read a book, watch a movie together, just enjoy that moment because nothing is promised to you. And like you said, making memories is for a lifetime that your children will remember years to go. After you live, they'll be saying, hey, you know what? I remember spending time. I remember cooking. I remember joking and laughing and playing dominoes like this one. So please enjoy the time. Celebrate life.
Amen.
Each day. Be safe out there.
Be safe out there, villagers. Enjoy the holiday weekend coming up, the 3-day weekend. And we look forward to seeing you back here next Thursday.
Yeah, thank you for all our listeners.
Maybe Mr. Dale will be back by then. Off his vacation.
James, thank you. And
just to remind people that we're on our 1,000 member. Please do join us on our YouTube. Thank each and every one of you for joining us right here. Thank you for watching, sharing, viewing, participating on the village. Looking forward to seeing you next week. Enjoy your holiday. Enjoy your break. God bless each one of you. Have a great night.
Good night. And enjoy Florida, Roderick.
I will try.
Good luck, Grayson.
He's not here. He's on the plane, actually. All right. Good night.